Pulling on the lead is probably one of the most frustrating things you'll ever deal with as a dog owner. We've both been there. You psych yourself up all day thinking, right, I'm going to take the dog out. I'm going to get some fresh air. I'm going to clear my mind. And the second you touch that lead, it's like they've just done a line of Pablo Escobar's finest produce. They drag you out the door like a freight train, and suddenly your relaxing walk turns into the world's worst game of tug of war. Your shoulders are about ready to pop out their socket, and before long, you've cut the walk short. Now you feel guilty your dog didn't get enough exercise, but with your dog's current behavior, you just can't bear taking them out again, which then makes the next walk even more difficult because all you're doing is compounding your dog's pent-up energy. So if this sounds familiar, keep watching. Today I'm going to show you how to completely flip the script. So if you feel like you've tried everything to stop your dog from pulling on the lead, then I'm about to show you the exact step-by-step method in how to fix it. Let's head outside.
Hello everyone, I just need 30 seconds of your time. Firstly, I just want to say thank you so much for consuming our content over the last couple of months. It's truly humbling how many people have been watching our channel, and seeing the channel grow is amazing. But I got a quick bone to pick with you. We looked at the analytics, and up to 50% of people that regularly watch this channel still haven't yet subscribed. And we decided last week that all the money that YouTube is going to give us, thanks to your viewership and all the views that you drive towards our channel, we are going to donate to a dog-based charity each month, a new one. So look out on our wall to see which charity we're donating to this month. And of course, don't forget to subscribe. And our promise to you, of course, will always be that we will work tirelessly to bring you the best dog training content available on the planet. Thank you so much.
As promised, I'm going to give you guys the best loose lead tutorial that you've ever seen. I'm going to use Lenny. And Lenny is one of my dogs. He was a failed foster. He actually spent 3.5 years in kennels before he's joined us. He's been in a couple of videos before. Truth be told, I've never actually tried to do any loose lead walking with Lenny because of, like I've spoken about in so many other of my videos, I don't really get anything out of it. Lenny doesn't really get anything out of it. However, I do appreciate at home that loose lead walking does have a function to get you and your dog from A to B safely. However, loose lead walking doesn't start outside on the street. Like a lot of things, it starts at home. So we're going to jump back inside in a second. I'm going to show you a recipe on how to get your dog walking perfectly on the lead. We're not going to do drills and drills and drills in the garden. We are going to work in the real world. However, there's a couple of things I need to implement first to set my dog up for success, especially if they're in a bad habit. Habit is a wonderful thing, but also an awful thing when it comes to dogs. If they're in the habit of pulling through certain leashes and collars and so on and so forth, then chances are you need a little bit of strategy to readjust that habit. So follow me. Okay, so first things first, I highly recommend that walking a dog on a leash, and I've spoken about this before in a million videos, isn't your first form of exercise for your dog, especially if they're in that bad habit. You want to do something else first to take the edge off your dog before you implement loose lead walking. If you go and take your dog out and they're like a jack in a box, they're like a coiled spring and they're ready to just essentially explode, you're asking for trouble. You're going to ask for reactivity, there's going to be a lot of frustration there, so on and so forth. So meet your dog's needs first in this like adjustment period whilst you're trying to create new habit, because that's all we're trying to do. We're trying to create new habit of when your dog gets onto the lead. So first step is going to be, before you practice your loose lead walking, do something fun with your dog. So take them out, have a little bit of a play. I'll have a quick play with Lenny now. I don't have to go into the intricacies of it. That's all in the Behavior Bible. The link in the description. You can download it for free. How to build play drive, how to get the most out of play, so on and so forth. Meet your dog's needs the best way possible via play before you go on to obedience training. I'll shut up and I'll do it. Yes. Good lad. You can just do this in your garden at home. Ready? Out. Ready? Sit. Down. Down, get it. Good boy. You can play a little bit of fetch, a little bit of tug and war. I've only got a ball now. All I'm thinking about doing here is just taking the edge off Lenny. I don't want to take him out, big coiled spring, ready to go, ready to see a dog, see movement, see cars, and absolutely go crazy. Good lad. Good lad. Yes, lad. Good boy. Good boy. Good lad. And I'll be honest, like, this is one of the most requested videos we've ever had. But in terms of my priorities, it's fairly low on the list. But I guess it's a necessary evil when it comes to training your dog. People want to walk their dogs on leashes. We have to walk our dog on leashes, especially in some countries, in some states in the US. Sit. No. Out. Sit. Guess. Good lad. Good boy. Good boy, Lenny. Drop. Get it. So we're going to have a little play before we go out. This could be 3 to 5 minutes. Len. Boy. Drop. Get it. Some expression. Let him express himself first. This won't be a forever thing. Drop. Get it. This won't be a forever thing. This is just in the interim whilst you're trying to drive a new habit into your dog's behaviour. We're going to, first things first, meet some needs. Allow for some expression. Take the edge off your dog. If you don't want to be taking them out and practicing loose lead walking like they're a coiled spring. So ditch that mindset to begin with. Oof. Drop. Again, the more your dog wants to toy, the more they want to play with you, the more you're going to get out of them. I've said this before, I've said it a million times, but I'm just going to keep driving it home. People need reminding as much as they need taught, out, as they say. Good boy. Len, here. Oh boy. Clever clogs. Clever clogs. Clever clogs. Drop. And again, this is a dog, a crossbreed, a Malinois crossed with some sort of bull breed. Kennels, 3.5 years of his life. Get it? Unfortunately, no one wanted him. He was due to be put to sleep. We got the phone call. We love Big Lenny, so he lives with me now. Drop. No. Get it. Len. Good boy. Drop. Get it. All right, so that's going to be tip, hack, number 1. Have fun with your dog first, because loose lead walking isn't fun. Not for you, not for the dog. Drop. Get it. So if it requires you to put the dog in the car, drive them somewhere with a little bit of space, do the play, then practice your loose lead walking, then do that by all means. Also let them go to the toilet so they're not dragging you around thinking, where do I need to pee? Where do I need to sniff? Where do I need to poo and all the rest of it? Get that all out first. So he's doing poopies now. And I'll show you the intricacies. I will show you what we need to do when your dog pulls. I'll show you how to stop them pulling in the first place. I'll show you when and how you need to reward them. But first things first, are we taking the dog into that training session in the right mindset? If we're not, we're set up to fail, which is going to cause problems, and you're just going to be back to square one. Yeah, good boy. Had a big boy. Drop. I'm fortunate enough to have a spacey garden-ish here, so we're going to have a little play in the garden before we go out. Drop. Good lad. And a couple of minutes of play, that's all we need. Drop. Close the window of play, all done. Tell him we're all done. And we're going to move on. We're going to head outside, and I'm going to give you our second tip again, which is about mindset. Come with me. My second piece of advice is on thresholds. We got the garden gate here. We're going to head out the gate and we're going to do some walking or loose lead walking practice in the street. As always, anything you teach the dog, you've got to practice it first before you expect it to work in real life. Seldom do we ever practice our loose lead walking during a walk. We prepare to have a walk. So what I mean by that is you don't run a marathon by running a marathon. You work up to the marathon. And so like if your dog, a 4-year-old dog like Lenny, probably a lot of rehearsal of pulling on the lead, you know, isn't walking perfectly on the lead, that's absolutely fine, but it's something we need to work towards. I'm not going to expect Lenny just to put a tool on him and say, hey, stop fucking pulling, and then go for an hour-long walk. There needs to be an element of working up to that point, and this is super important if you want long-lasting results, right? So my second food for thought, or my second tip or point, is going to be when that gate first opens, your dog's not allowed to charge through. The worst thing I could do here, I see it all the time, and I see dog trainers doing it, is sitting the dog, opening the gate, and then saying okay, and essentially releasing a jack-in-the-box into the wild. So all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to imagine there's a force field here and Lenny's not allowed through it. Good. Until he gives me this. Not because of I need to be the boss and I need to go through the gate first. Nothing to do with any of that. Not to do with dominating him and making sure I'm going out first. I just want him in the right mindset. I don't want this to be the gate to Narnia and the tunnel of fun I just want it to be like anything else. And when that gate opens, because if your dog is going to have a natural disposition to see like gaps and holes and all the rest of it and fly through there, because it goes back to their hunting instincts, right? I just want to make sure I'm creating a little bit of hesitancy. So he went through a couple of times and I just blocked him with the leash, right? I've just got a regular flat collar on him at the moment. And I just want to create a little bit of hesitancy where he sees that open gate. He's not going to fly through there. I don't expect him to heel or anything right now. We're just taking the edge off him, getting to our threshold. You might have to do this at your front door, your back door, wherever you're bringing your dog out from, and then probably your gate or whatever. If I need to dedicate 5 minutes to get this right, then so be it. I do that. And I don't need to worry about using the loose lead walk to meet my dog's needs because I've already done that. And that's super important detail here. So threshold, super important. So I want to be able to open this gate and Lenny think, right, it's also a safety thing. I'm not allowed to fly through there. So if he does, I would take the leash. I'm going to dink it twice, pop it twice, whatever you want to call it. I don't really care. I'm not going to get into a tug of war with him though. If I start like dragging him back and just creating this opposition reflex, it's just going to make things worse. So if I need some time here to create some calm around that first threshold, absolutely fine. So we've created just a little bit of impulse control here, right? And once we are, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to pass through. If I give my release command now, probably he's going to fly through, hit the end of the lead. I'm going to be back to square one. So I'm going to demonstrate it one more time from this other angle. I open the gate, I go to pass through. If Lenny goes in front, I take the lead and I'm going to kind of flick it a couple of times to get through to him like I'm whipping someone with a tea towel. All right? Look at him. He's not shut down. He's not depressed. He's not like super fearful, scared of me or anything like that. He's fine. He's just realized he's not allowed to fly through this gate. And that's a good idea because what if someone leaves it open one day, right? Once we've got this, then we're ready to step out onto the street, which brings me on to my third tip. Don't ask your dog for anything to begin with. Let them have a little bit of explore time. Let the lead be loose and just let them have a little bit of a sniff. Don't go into the obedience straight away. Don't go into demanding they walk nicely on the lead to begin with. How well your dog walks on lead is very much dependent on how novel the environment is. And so if we take them into a very novel environment, something new, something that's going to deliver sensory overload, and frankly, like I never walk my dogs out here. I put them in the van and we go to work. So Lenny's probably been out here once or twice in his life or since he's lived with me, right? I'm not going to let him drag me around. So if he does, I'm going to, flick again. But I'm going to allow him to have a little bit of time to find his feet before we go on to any sort of drills or anything like that, okay? Once the dog looks at you and you're waiting for a point where the dog will look at you and go like, yeah, what are we doing? That is our cue to move on to step 4 of the sequence. So this is kind of what we got. Step 4 is going to be, we have some fun together. No loosely walking just yet, but again, an important part of the sequence. Yes, good lad. And now you're just going to show him, yes, whoa, good boy, that something good happens at my end of the leash. Yes. And you're going to say, yeah, but what if my dog doesn't care about food and he won't take treats outside? I don't want to hear it. We've made you the course to fix that, the Fussy Eater Guide, which is in the Behavior Bible, a full course. Any other dog trainer would charge you hundreds of pounds for it. Yes. Whoa, a little bit of a spin there, a little bit of fun, good lad. Click the link in the description, download the Behavior Bible. It will show you step-by-step guide on how to get your dog to take food outside. Yes, good lad, yes. Whoosh. Good boy, good boy, good boy. And I'm just gonna show him that, hey, yes, paying attention to this end of the lead is in his best interest. Good boy, good lad. And already we're seeing a much more engaged dog. This is because we've taken the edge off him. We've allowed him some expression of his prey drive, his play drive, his defensive drive, you might argue. We've then set some boundaries at thresholds and say you're not allowed to just steamroll through, and brought him into the right mindset. We've then taken a bit of novelty out of the environment by just saying, hey bud, have a sniff, fill your boots, go to the toilet, whatever you need. Step number 4, show him there's fun on the end of this leash. Now we're going to come on to the actual loose lead walking drill itself. And what I'm going to do here is a sequence of kind of turns and rewards in order to show him that it is in his best interest to walk next to me here. So I'm going to give the cue and we're going to set off. The sweet spot is just around what I'll show you here, kind of nose behind toes, walking next to each other. So I'm going to put the leash in my right hand, and there's loads of different ways you can do this and hold the leash. I'm going to give you a really easy one. They say there's many ways to skin a cat. I don't recommend you do skin a cat, but I think it's just a saying to mean there's different methods to achieve the same outcome. And I'm going to give the heel command, I'm going to walk. If nose goes in front of my toes, I'm going to turn. I'm going to 180. I'm going to turn on a dime. We're going to go the other way. If at any point he finds the sweet spot, which is around there, I'm going to give him my reward marker, show you how to do that in the behavior Bible, and I'm going to pay him. Okay? Heel. Goes there. I turn. He finds the sweet spot. Yes. Good lad. Now, because I've said yes and I've paid him and I've rewarded that, I'm going to say heel again. He goes out in front, I'm going to turn. Yes. Yes. Heel. And a lot of you are going to say, yeah, but my dog's not like Lenny. Heel. You know, he's all over the show. He's absolutely crazy. But this is why the process, yes, good lad, that we've just followed is super, super important to bring the dog in the right mindset. And I can't reiterate enough, this isn't a forever thing. This is a temporary thing to create new habit. I'm going to give a little bit of that leash tug if he goes too far. And I'm going to wait for him just to find time in that sweet spot, which is about there. He's a little bit ahead, but it's okay. Heel. Yes. Lad. Heel. So if I need to correct or reward, I reiterate the command. I just remind him what we should be doing. Yes. Don't need to give me fancy feet, bud. And each and every time you'll notice we're going to get a little bit further without a turn required. Good boy. Good lad. Yes. I'm practicing for the walk, not on the walk. Heel. So he lost attention there. He went out in front. Hey, hey, hey. He went out in front. I give the command to put a turn on him. Yes. Show him that sticking in that sweet spot, which is right about there. That's what we're looking for, our sweet spot. I'm only going to reward him while he's there. Yes. Lad. Heel. Good boy. He's going to make a choice here. He's either going to go too far ahead, which he does, heel. And I'm going to turn. Yes, good lad. Good boy. Good lad. Good lad. And for Lenny, who gets quite excited over new people, all I did there was, when people get a little bit close, I went to a reward event. I say, yeah, there's some fun, maybe going around, you might anticipate saying hello to these people. I don't want him jumping up on kids, so I'm just going to say to him, when you feel like that, the party is this way. And this is why it's so important to be able to reward our dog out and about. Yes, good lad, and we can go back into our drill. Heel. That's because I've dropped a little bit of food. Good. And he comes back in. That's nice. Yes. Good lad. He turned with me, found the sweet spot. Brilliant. Gives me a moment to reward there and just start driving reinforcement into new habits. Old habit is surfing at the end of the lead. Pulling like a train like no tomorrow. And again, I can't reiterate enough, I really don't do or haven't done a lot of this with Lenny at all because of, again, frankly, hey, I find it boring. He finds it boring. We'd rather be playing, we'd rather be running around, we'd rather be playing in the river and all the rest of it. But I also understand that, yes, this is a necessary element of having a dog. Being able to have them walk on a loose leash. So he tries to pull. What's the function of pulling? Moving forward quicker. And so by turning and adding in a little bit of a correction there, I detract that function and I say, look, going out in front and pulling gets you the opposite of what you want. It sends us the other way. Very quickly, then he's going to learn, oh, if I want to go forward, I need to be in that sweet spot. Super important. Now we can do this with different tools, and as I've expressed on this channel several times before, I don't have a problem with different tools and collars and things like that, so long as they're conditioned correctly. And if your dog has a bad habit on a particular tool, what we call a poison tool, hey, a harness, for example, chances are you're going to want to change the tool. Heel. All right. So we think of this new behavior, hey, like a bank account. All right, and I want to make as many deposits into that bank account as I can, and then what I start doing over time is I start fading away how often I'm paying him, so he just naturally holds this position. Not perfect, but really I don't care that he's not kind of super tight to heel. He's kind of there, right? As long as he's not pulling me like a train, I don't mind. If he goes there though, heel, I'm going to put the turn. So my criteria is kind of like, hey, hey. There. Okay, good boy. One of the last things we want to add in is what we call a break cue. So it's not fair on our dog to sometimes expect them to heel and sometimes allow them to willy-nilly interact with the environment. So the dichotomy we have is, should I never allow him to interact with the environment? I don't think that's a good idea, that you never allow your dog to interact with the environment. And what I would suggest is you just put it on a cue. So we say to our dog, now is your time to sniff and wee and poop and fill your boots, mate. But then now is the time to come back into heel. So how do we teach that? Well, what I typically do is I'm going to take my dog. I'm going to make sure the leash is loose. I'm going to take something that he might want. Sit, sit, break. And I'm going to start showing him essentially the pre-MAC principle. Because if one day I say to my dog, oh, you have to walk nicely on a lead, but you're allowed to drag me to dogs, or you're allowed to drag me to a lamppost, or you're allowed to drag me to this wall to have a wee on, and then the next day, as the dog on the other side of the road, and he doesn't know there's a road between him and the dog, and I say, no, you're not allowed to, and I hold him back, or I try and correct him, but that's me being really inconsistent, and that will induce frustration, and I don't want that, because that's a recipe for reactivity. And so if I want my dog to interact with anything in the environment, I simply put it on cue. How do we start that? Just like that. All right, and then when he's done, Lenny, heel, and I'm going to bring him back up. Hey, hey, wait, wait. Whoa. Now on the flat collar, which Lenny is prone to pulling through for various reasons, history of reinforcement and all the rest of it, we've got a like I mentioned earlier, poison relationship. So the only thing I wouldn't do this on is a harness. Because when I try and turn the dog, he's just going to fight into it and he's going to pull. It's going to create a lot of conflict between us both. And I know people are going to say, oh, yeah, harnesses are nice. They're not. I've seen so many dogs get genuine physical injuries from trying to pull through harnesses because they're able to, and actually change the gait and how they walk. And it's not going to give us the communication we need. You've not seen one harsh correction yet on Lenny, and we don't need that. However, a harness is just going to get us nowhere. It's just going to get us nowhere. We use them for protection dogs to pull into, to really rile them up, to frustrate them. They were designed for huskies, so we could do this on a slip collar, flat collar, prong collar, or whatever. Good lad, yes. Oh, so I stopped, he stopped with me, so I could add in the occasional stop. If he stops with, yes. I could increase pace, yes. I could slow down pace. Yes. And very quickly we can start being in tune together. Tool side of things, behavior Bible, there's a whole tool workshop in there, pros and cons of each and every tool. Highly recommend you download it so you can understand pros and cons of flat collars, slip collars, prong collars, so on and so forth. You would do exactly the same drill we've done today. A couple of factors which I'm not going to go into now, that's all in the behavior Bible. Yes, you might want to change the tool that best suits your dog. Okay, and this brings me on to my final tip. It's looking really nice here. I'm really happy with this, is the generalization. Just because we've nailed it here doesn't mean Lenny's going to understand it anywhere else. And so now it's my job to take at least another 4 or 5 different locations and reiterate the same exercise we've just done, so he understands no matter where we go, he's expected to remain on that loose lead when he's on the short lead, okay? So we're going to hop into the van now, head somewhere else, pretty much do the same exercise. Let's go. So we've gone to a new location, all the same principles apply. We get out, let him have a sniff to begin with, let him take his surroundings in, trying to wrestle him into a loose lead walk while he's still trying to take everything on, especially a dog that's not been well socialized. Again, going to create a lot of conflict, and chances are we're going to be barking orders at the dog. He's going to learn to ignore them, and very quickly we're going to poison not only our commands, our equipment, our relationship. And so we're just going to linger. Yes. And if we see any sort of distractions, we can go into our fun just to keep his attention. Yes. Lenny getting pretty excited over a border collie over there. That's okay. Once we've done a little bit of, taking everything in, ready to show him that the party's this way. Yes. Yeah. Whoa. Good lad. Once we've done that, heel. We can go into our actual command. Rules apply. If he goes out in front, do a little bit of a correction and turn, heel. And we're practicing for the walk now, not on the walk. Heel. Yes. Hey, hey. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but probably once I've done this over 5, 6, 7 different spots, we're going to start generalizing it, which is basically Lenny understanding that heel. Everywhere we go, we want this nice loose leash. You're a nosy boy, aren't you? Heel. Good boy. Good lad. I don't need his I don't need to be captivating his attention constantly. Like, all I really care about with my dog is no. Yes, lad. So he's kind of got excited over something moving over there a second ago. This kid going past on a scooter or whatever. Yes, good lad. So I just need to regain his focus a little bit. Wait, and then move on to our drill. Yes. Okay, so very quickly going to talk about tools, and I want to kind of debunk a massive misconception about tools in that using a prong collar is much more cruel than a flat collar or a harness or whatever. Over time, if I do a 10-minute session with Lenny and he hits the end of the lead 30 times, well, that compounds. And so I want to avoid that compounding pressure, just like your dog might be surfing the end of the lead, like learning to pull through things. Your dog might be kind of hitting the slip collar every 2 seconds, so on and so forth. Well, in that instance, we're better to change the tool, something that's going to give us essentially that power steering. Again, so long as things are conditioned correctly, you're probably not going to step into any bother or whatever, especially again when kind of our dog has a little bit of a habit, or chances are, like a lot of your dogs, our certain tools, they're poisoned and our dog is just able to kind of pull through things because of the history. Essentially, habit has told them that when they feel this pressure, it's time to pull through, because it's just happened so much in the past. And so we're going to change over the tools now, and I just want to demonstrate by shifting tools how much pressure we can actually take off the dog instead of putting on the dog. All right, so you've seen me do it there with the flat collar. I'm now going to switch to the prong collar. And I know some of you will be up in arms about this and all the rest of it. But I want us to remember one thing. Let's look at the dog. Let's look at the dog's body language, the dog's attitude, and see if we see a shift. So Lenny's a little bit everywhere. He's a little bit focused on the dog over there. He's a little bit focused on the kids. And the way I feel about that is we could be going up and down a million times, or we could simply actually change something and steer us on the path of success instead of just like getting into a wrestling match with things, which is the last thing I want, right? So we're going to change the tool. I'm going to do the same drill, but with the prong collar instead. I'm going to see if there's any noticeable difference. You okay? Come on then. Same thing, heel. And we'll see how many corrections and how many turns are now required once you've shifted the tool. Same drill, all the same principles apply. Yes? Is he taking food? Yep. Is he happy? Yep. Good boy. Good lad. Yes. Good lad. Nice. Good boy. Now, you've seen him in previous videos. He's been exposed to the prong collar before, so he understands like its meaning, so on and so forth. But immediate change. Good boy. Good lad. Good lad. Yes. Whereby problems are going to arise when you use the old tool that has an old meaning, because a tactile cue is just a cue to a dog, just like a visual cue or an audible cue. And so if the cue is being conditioned over a longer period of time, when I feel pressure on my throat or when I feel pressure on my back, I am to pull into it. I'm better off changing the cue, because you wouldn't one day try and teach your dog a down means sit or vice versa. If you did want to change things, you would change the cue, right? But if your dog over time has learned that sit means like put my bum down but keep it off the floor, but you wanted to achieve the bum on the floor, you'd be better off changing the cue than trying to recondition the old cue, all right? And that's the same thing with equipment. Heel. Good boy. And now let's see how far like our drill can take us. So I've essentially just graduated to power steering. He knows the game, he knows the drill. He knows when I stop. Yes, I can still reward him. Super important to be enabled with reward here. Good lad. Is he going to turn with me each time? Yeah, he is. So now what we'll find over the period of the next 10 minutes, we might need 1 or 2 corrections. Now I'd rather correct a dog twice on a prong collar or a slip collar than 50 times on a flat collar. And again, people will be just up in arms about this because the prong collar looks like a medieval torture device. But if we really break it down, it offers a lot, the job to be done and our goals to be achieved in a lot less pressure overall, since we know that pressure accumulates, than perhaps flat collar harness or even a slip collar. And the requirements now for me to have Lenny put the brakes on is 2 fingers of pressure, all right? Not like having to put my body into it and things like that. So it's gonna make for a much more relaxing walk, not only for me, but for Lenny as well. And we got a dog over here. Lenny was getting a bit distracted by dogs earlier. Good boy. Hiya mate, you all right? Good boy, Lenny. Good boy. And we're both getting a bit tired, I think, but that's okay. And now I just want to demonstrate the change of tool allows us to go further. I can graduate from my up downs, my turns, which I highly recommend you start to begin with. And for the record here, Lenny come highly reactive towards other dogs. There's a correction here. I'm super nervous around other dogs, mate, so I'm going to just go around. Is that all right? Thank you. Cheers. Not a big fan of on-lead greetings, so I just pull the nervous card. People are usually empathetic that way instead of like, oh no, they'll be fine. Hey, low amount of pressure. Heel. Back into things. Don't need to absolutely wallop the dog. You know, there's videos knocking around, letting the dog fly to the end of the lead and just taking their heads off. It's not needed. When you put the dog in the right mindset, you teach the lessons first, you meet the dog's needs, you can implement a tool for that power steering, but only on the conditions that you've done all the preceding homework to begin with. Yes. Good lad, Lenny, good boy. We'll just go for a quick walk around the block, see how many times I have to correct him, and then we'll finish up the video, huh? And I just want to touch on another like compounding effect. Now we've got more control. With more control comes more socialization. With more socialization reduces the novelty in environments, makes my job easier to train Lenny. So super important. We don't just weigh up tool versus no tool. We weigh up the whole picture. If I'm able to, by utilizing a tool, walk my dog more and for longer, meet his exercise needs, but also socialize him more effectively by showing him more things and more pictures, we'll have this positive compounding effect that environments are less valuable to him because he's like, well, I've seen him. I've been so many different places just this week alone, as are people, as are interactions with people, as are seeing dogs. So super important. Again, we weigh up the whole picture, not just am I going to use a tool or not, am I being cruel or not, and so on and so forth. There's a lot more to it than that. And now I can walk the dog for 30 minutes because he's not dragging my arm out the socket, and also show him 50 different things he might not have even seen before, but in a controlled low arousal exposure way, as opposed to kind of just surfing at the end of that lead, right? So there's your 6 or 7 steps to a loose lead walk. If your dog doesn't take food, link in the description. You want to learn more about tools before you make any choices, link in the description. If you want our team to help you out with any of this stuff, link in the description. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.
So remember, loose lead walking isn't just about making your life easier. It's a safety tool. And more importantly, it's a window into how your dog experiences the world. What are you? There's a bird on the ceiling. Could be a squirrel. If you want a dog that not only behaves better, but actually feels better, calmer, more connected, more fulfilled, then meeting their needs and respecting their instincts isn't optional. It's absolutely essential. And if that's the kind of relationship you want, then don't stop here. Check out this video that'll show you how to bridge the gap between obedience and true understanding.